Hi there, and welcome to this bonus episode of the Gazette's Hockey Inside Out Show. I'm Stu Cowan of the Gazette, and I'm joined by former Canadiens teammates and 1986 Stanley Cup champs Rick Green and Brian Skrudland, who's filling in for Chris Nilan this week. Rick, after Tuesday's 5-1 loss to the LA Kings, the Canadiens were still averaging 3.63 goals per game, which ranked 5th in the NHL. They averaged only 2.96 goals per game and ranked 17th in the NHL last season. Not much offense against the Kings, but what do you think the biggest reason is for the jump in offense this season with the Habs?
Look at the pleasant surprise in Kapanen. I mean, we talked about early on hoping that this kid would be a player, and he's got 6 goals. He's helping out obviously in the scoring department. Doc is finding. I'm happy for him, finding a way to make things happen offensively with him. And then you know, 4 goals in Demidov, along with all the playmaking ability that he has. So there's a lot of creativity up front from a lot of players that they didn't have before, and they're making some really special plays with a lot of talent. And I think it really comes down to the skill set of these guys that can really make things happen. They got a lot more guys that are able to make things happen on any given night. And this is why they're getting more goals, because they're much more creative and they're lighting up the lamp.
Brian, you've been watching from out there back home in Calgary. What have you liked about the offense with the Habs?
Well, you can't not talk about the Montreal Canadiens and not talk about their defense and joining the rush or leading the rush. I mean, they've got such great skaters back there, and the ability, the passing ability, the shooting ability. I mean, it's all there. I've was part of the Florida Panthers when we drafted Mike Matheson, so I know all about that character and that fella, and he's a great hockey player, and I'd like to just see him continue along the path that he is. I think he's doing a great job of leading some of those young guys, and he's become a more responsible player in his own end, and I hope that continues as well, because he's got all the offensive ability in the world. And Lane Hudson, I mean, if that isn't fun to watch, I don't know what is. Yeah,
I mean, Cole Caulfield spoke. He said the biggest difference is this season the defense. I mean, no knock on David Savard, but he wasn't a real mobile type of guy and didn't really fit into the system the Canadiens want to play. You know, Brian, you mentioned Matheson, and then he gets Noah Dobson as a partner, another guy who's so good offensively. What was your role? Were you a scout with the Panthers back then when you had Matheson?
I was player development.
Player development.
So I got a chance to know the family and the kid and the coaches, and it was that was a great job for me back then, and allowed you to sort of just be there as a support for the young guy, because he was going off to college, Boston College, and you do whatever you can to support both him and the coach, and any questions to answer. Really, these kids are so talented today, keeping their nose clean, wanting what they want, which is to play in the National Hockey League, and they're doing everything in their power to do it, both on and off the ice.
What do you think it didn't work out for him there, Brian? Was it maybe the pressure being a first-round pick, or just struggling?
Well,
struggling to play defense.
You bet. And Stu, it's timing. I mean, when you get to a club, if that timing works out and you fit in right away, well, you're there, and you could be there for a long time. It just so happened we're sort of in that continual rebuilding phase back then with Dale Talon and the group, and with what Bill has brought in and completed in that organization. I mean, is a dream come true. We heard about that 96 team for far too long being the best team that had been in Florida for years. Like nothing more than to see them raise the Stanley Cup a couple of years ago, and talk about a hotbed of hockey. How many times is Florida going to lift that Stanley Cup in general, in regards to the state as well? So anyway, time to bring one back up to Canada.
Come a long way from when they were killing rats in the locker room in Florida, right?
Quite incredible. That's still one of my favorite stories. How you can have 20 guys armed and ready for war, heading out onto the ice, and a 8-inch rat comes in and everybody shits themselves. It's like, other than Scotty Mellanby, who waited and one time them across the room. So yeah, it's a great story.
With Dobson coming in, Rick, just what's impressed you most about him? I mean, I asked Marty St. Louis the other day what he's brought to the team, and he had a one-word answer. He said poise. and he sort of makes the game look easy.
Yeah, I agree. Stability, a guy that's not flashy. He knows how to play the game both offensively, defensively. Very mobile, very cool under pressure. You always like to judge a defenseman how they respond when they're being pressured, and be able to find the right option to move the puck to. And he just knows how to play the game in both sides of the surface. And he's a big body, and he really gets around the ice well, and he's not afraid to jump in when the opportunity is right. And I got to give the defense full marks for being very, very selective in when they do jump into the play offensively and do contribute to get some offensive opportunities. So they have a good mix of guys. They've got guys that are obviously more talented offensively than others, but they have good chemistry and good pairings, and you can see that they're playing well together, and they know where each other is, and that's a bonus back there on the blue line.
Yeah, that game against the Kings was the first game this season where they looked a little bit like last season. They were running around on their own end a little bit, but Marty has spoken about how he wants that aggressive forecheck. He wants a defenseman to pinch at the blue line. He wants him to be really aggressive in the neutral zone, and we've seen it. And that's a game, I think, Brian, that's tailor-made for Mike Matheson. As you said, you knew him from when he was young. I mean, that skating is something that must have stood out to you guys right away in Florida when you drafted him.
Guaranteed. You go with your strengths, and that was definitely one of Mike's greatest strengths was his skating ability, and it gets you out of so much trouble. I mean, like Rick said, it doesn't matter if it's Noah or whoever it is, they have that ability. There might come that time of the year where some of them have to play that old Savard style of hockey because
Mm-hmm.
that's what's going to demand at that point in time of the year. So they're all, for the most part, some big bodies. Even Mike carries himself at 6'2" and a
Yeah.
couple 100 pounds. I mean, not an easy guy to move around, especially when you're in full flight. So I'm hoping that will be the exciting part for the Canadians moving forward. I know that when we won, we had some big boys back there, Greeny, Larry, Craig Ludwig. I mean, and then you had your finesse guys in Chelly and Tom Curvers and Mike Lawler, etc. It was another big guy. So hard to move, and I hope the Canadians adapt that as well because we all know come April, May, and June, that's around that front of the net. You got to make sure you're clearing people out. So
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, I wrote in a column this week too. It's not a knock on David Savard. I mean, Marty has said, there's certain players in this rebuild that will plant the trees, then never be able to enjoy sitting under the shade that they created. And there's a
good
reason
point.
every single young defenseman who came into the Canadians that's with them now, their first defense partner was David Savard. To sort of teach them that defensive type of the game. And I know, Rick, you had that same role yourself when you were playing, right? Whoever the young kid was, you're playing with Rick.
Yeah, I seem to attract those young guys, and I would leave them when it came to leaving the rink. I would tell them to go home, and I wouldn't. But it's an example of you take a lot of pride in that opportunity because you've done some things over the years that gave you success, and you would like to pass on some of those things. And it can be very, very simple and subtle, but it allows them to develop as young kids to understand what side of the puck they need to be on, and some of the technical stuff that, even though it's a different game, some won't change with stick on the ice and making sure that your head's on a swivel.
No, well, another big reason I was obviously mentioned Ivan Demidov. Brian, the end of the Kings game, Marty made a little switch. Slavkovsky was having a tough night, making some bad decisions with the puck. He put Demidov on that number one line with Suzuki and Caulfield. Is that something you can see going forward? Is it something you would think about doing if you were in Marty's shoes?
Teasing these guys is what it's all about. When things aren't going, that's the part about being a great coach. The guys know that things aren't going that night either, and to try things. I mean, that was some of the best coaches that I had, and Ken Hitchcock was definitely one of them. And right there, bang. Well, the game's on that next shift. All of a sudden, there you are facing Medano, Lettinen, and Newendike. Joe would jump up there with Mo all the time. It was just making decisions like that just puts the other team on a little bit of more on defense on their heels than it would be on their toes. And Marty has that ability with this crew. So I think tinkering with them, and hey, you've got a little bit of room. not a lot of room, but to continue to try things. I mean, this guy's willing to win at any cost, and I think the players are as well.
Yeah, and the thing I like about Marty is willing to admit when he makes mistakes. And he said, if I'm
Sure.
asking my players to be honest with themselves, I have to be honest with me. And he said the biggest adjustment for him coaching in the NHL is learning how to run the bench, right? I mean, the game's happening so fast and you're calling lines and you're doing everything else. So he's starting to learn how to pull the strings a little bit there. And I think that was one of those moves. Anyway, that's it for this Hockey Inside Out Show bonus episode. I hope you all enjoyed it. We'll have 2 more bonus episodes coming up over the next few days with Rick and Brian. In the meantime, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the Hockey Inside Out YouTube channel.